back in the room. My guest today is a very funny stand-up comedian. He's been on Comedy Central, has a dry bar comedy special, and he's regular on Bob and Tom Show. Reno Collier.
Woo!
Woo! Well, I'll add the, we don't have the applause. I'll add it in the background.
Dude, it's all good.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Just got a couple more shows.
Yeah.
All's good.
Yeah, man. We met last night, did a little guest spot.
It was fun, man.
Yeah, that was great. You got really funny stuff, man.
Thank
got
you.
good crowd work. You got to, play with the crowd a lot last night. Had the guy with the deep voice. That was
kind of, you never know what you're gonna get.
That was kind of a gift. I feel like he had a crazy voice. But
it is. It's one of those things that, when something happens like that, I didn't expect that voice to come out of that guy.
No.
And you know how it is.
Yeah, I was jealous of that guy's voice for sure.
I was too. Today I was even like, how did it was just so I can't even imitate it.
Yeah,
it was like a white Barry White, but he was
how's
25.
it going?
Yeah,
just like yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good. But do you do a lot of that? I mean, you're good at crowd work, but do you always pepper some of that in?
No,
really?
It just depends on what I'm feeling like.
I got you.
Yeah. If something like that comes up that you can't get away from, where it's like everybody heard it.
You had to say
everybody
something
knew
about the guy's voice, yeah.
And then I'll just take it and run with it and beat the life out of it,
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, man. You got an interesting name, Reno. It's
I'm named after my great grandfather.
Okay.
And then my dad's Andrew Reno Collier, and I'm Andrew Reno Collier II. And my dad took the Andy one, so they just called me Reno. And my great grandfather was sick when I was born, so it was kind of to honor him. And
gotcha. That's cool, man. I just didn't know where it came from, or if your parents were gamblers, or what.
No, that's what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
No, dude, the story. Now, my great grandfather used to make up a lot of stuff, but he told us he didn't even know what year he was born.
Really?
Right? Yeah. So, there were always stories that were kind of funky, but what he told me, what happened was, when he was born, his mom was nuts, right? Back then, they didn't know mental illness and stuff like that. So she was a single mom. She told everybody in this town where she lived that she had a dream and she was having a daughter, had the kid. She died when he was 3. All the pictures we have of him as little, he was in a dress. He went to live with an uncle, and they didn't want to make a big deal out of it. So back then, his name was Rene, R-E-N-E, and they went to the courthouse and just changed the E to an O.
Man.
And then he became... Now, dude.
She really wanted a girl.
I come from a long line of people who make shit up. So I don't know if that's real or not, but that's the story he told me.
That's a good story.
Yeah,
I'd go with it. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
We were ahead of the times, man.
Yeah.
We were dressing up as different people long time ago.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, where are you based out of now, or where'd you grow up?
I grew up mainly in Virginia. My family's all from West Virginia, so I'd spend time in Virginia and West Virginia. And then I lived in North Carolina, Atlanta, Los Angeles, and then the past 20 years right outside of Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nashville's cool, man. I've been there a few times, but it just keeps getting bigger, it seems.
It's starting to suck, man.
That's
it's
what
like
I would
Atlanta.
imagine. Yeah.
Atlanta used to be so much fun when I was in my 20s, and now it's just a cesspool.
It gets to the point. It's like Austin. It's happening with Austin, like all these cool little towns, and then everybody moves there, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, and the thing with Nashville is during COVID, we have no state income tax, and we were open.
Yeah.
So all these people from California and New York live there now. And it's like, dude, you can come, but don't jack up our politics and don't bring your stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hear you.
It's weird. People move to a new place because they want to get away from the old one, and then they get there and try to turn the new one into the place they just left.
Exactly.
And it's like, we don't want it to be a dump,
Well, good luck, man. I don't know what to tell you there.
Yeah,
but,
I'm not in charge of it.
Yeah. Big sports guy, right?
Yeah, pretty big. Lately, it's been a lot of golf.
Okay. Getting into it
I'm
hard?
A junkie, yeah.
Okay.
Bad. Football. I'm a West Virginia fan in basketball. I lost our coach. And that's just been a mess. But
yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, this is one of the greatest sports cities.
Yeah, man. We
anywhere.
got, Cardinals, Blues. We got the new soccer team. I'm not a big soccer guy, but, more power to them.
Fun to go to. Yeah, same with us. Preds. We have soccer too, and that's not a soccer. Nashville is not soccer or hockey, but It's picked up, man.
Yeah,
it's huge.
That's cool, man. We got the Battlehawks. Their season's about to start. Like,
yeah.
I miss the Rams still, but I'll support the Battlehawks. I went to a game last year, and it was a good time.
Yeah.
You know, they do it at the Dome. It's cheaper beer.
Yeah.
You know, there was like 30,000 people there for their last game.
I got to go to Cardinal Stadium. I did a show for NBC, and we traveled all of Route 66 and
nice.
all this stuff. So we filmed at the Arch.
Okay.
And they set it up where there were all these little arches all around it, and these people were competing in these different things and everything.
That's probably
and then,
cool.
not for the show, but just for fun, we went to that ballpark. What a great freaking place to watch baseball.
Yeah, it's great. You know, I've been a lifelong Cardinals fan, and they're up there with one of the best, you know.
They are.
Second most wins, you know.
Yeah.
But they're just awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully they got kind of a bounce back season this year, but we'll see what happens. But got to support them anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I always support the local teams. Like some people pick a random team out of nowhere, and I'd kind of support the Bulls because we don't have a basketball. But besides that, you know, try to keep it local.
I don't watch basketball. I mean, I don't even know the players anymore. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, you got LeBron still.
I watch
and,
college,
you know,
but I don't know. They're babies, dude. They
There's a lot of
flail like
flopping.
soccer. Yeah, they're falling
flopping.
around, and they act like they're all tough in the interviews. Then you watch it, and it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
Nobody
need to
even
do something.
touched you.
They need to do something about the flopping. Usually the playoffs are good for the NBA, but like the other games,
traveling.
not. Yeah,
It looks like they hand the ball off to a running back, and they just
Yeah.
take off for 15 yards. And
yeah, you got good points here
yeah,
on the NBA. For
that's
sure.
why I can't watch it.
Yeah, well, I know you toured with like Larry the Cable Guy, the Blue Collar guys. What was all that about? Like, how'd you get in with those guys and meet them and everything?
So I knew Cable Guy from back and Engvall back when I was a bartender at a comedy club in Atlanta.
Okay.
I used to work the door, and then like I'd go to the kitchen, run to the kitchen, and then I'd do anything I could. Like I'd trade out stage time, like the women's bathroom would overflow, and all the waitresses were hot, and they're like, I'm not cleaning that up. And I'm like, I'll do it for 7 minutes on Wednesday, you know, and they're like, no, we're not sitting through that shit again. Then they're like, fine, no one's going to, so I'm in there, knock, knock, who's there, writing jokes, mopping. And so I met them then, and then I went out to California, and my ex-wife, I promised her parents that when we started having kids, we'd move back to Nashville. So I was in LA. I got pilot deals. I couldn't get a show on the air, and we were gonna have our first kid, and I was like, I'm gonna get out of here. And my agent at the time was like, "Are you familiar with this Blue Collar Comedy Tour?" I was like, "I don't even know really what you're talking about." He's like, "Well, it's Jeff Foxworthy," and I knew all these guys. Jeff started at the Punchline where I bartended at, well, way before it. But they were like, "What if you talk to this other management company and see," you know, and I was like, look, here's the deal. I'm getting out of here. I can't get a show on the air, you know, and they're like, we don't care where you live. And I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm out. So I moved back to Nashville, and then I toured with Cable Guy, for like 11 or 12 years. And 2 of it was with Ron didn't want to go back out and do another Blue Collar run. So I got on that tour. And then it was an arena tour with me and Cable Guy and Engvall and Foxworthy.
Nice.
It was fun, dude, but it was
bet.
weird because I could feel that the crowds wanted Ron, and I was just trying to make money from, you know, and they're like, where's Ron? Where's Ron? And I'm like, dude, I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's not your fault.
It's not my
it's
fault.
not your fault.
He didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I still go out with Cable Guy some now, but we revolve it around playing golf and,
Nice.
you know. Yeah.
How's your game?
Probably like a 15, 14.
Okay. Better than me.
Somewhere in there. I've gotten lower, and I've been a lot higher, so it's
You got to play all the time, I feel like, if you want to be good. I'll play like 3 times a year, and I'm like, I fucking suck. But like, obviously, you're going to suck if you play 3 times a year.
Dude,
But
so much of it is touch and feel, especially around the greens. So if you're not playing a lot, even just your timing and your swing, and, you know, it's so... I play. We played in the snow. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'll play.
Die hard, yeah.
Yeah, like it's not all the time.
Yeah, but
you know, man,
every now and
it's
then,
an addiction.
Yeah, it's fun, man, but you got to make the time to like be, you know, consistent with it at least, or it's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
And I'm on the fence of like, do I play more or just quit? Because I played 3 or 4 times a year with my buddies, and I just suck, and I'm all pissed off, and
I'll tell you, man.
Spiral.
If you take 5 lessons
That's what I need to do.
In a row. People go, oh, I took a lesson. One doesn't do anything. Sorry, dude, my nose.
You're good.
The one lesson doesn't do anything, but if you take 5 in a row, you can at least get to where you have 3 swing thoughts.
Yeah.
And just it's smoother and easier. I try to hit the ball too far and too hard. Like I'm like, oh, 175 yards, 7-iron, which is stupid.
Yeah.
You know? So I saw this John Daly interview, and he goes, if you're an amateur, go up a club. If you think you should hit a 7, hit a 6 and just choke down a little bit. And you'll get the distance, and you can still have some of the control, and it feels like you're swinging a wedge when you're hitting a 6-iron.
Yeah, that's good advice.
And it kind of, just for control. And
yeah, you just don't have to. If you swing as hard as you can, it's not going to be as smooth.
No.
So if you take some off of it, it makes sense to well,
it
might not go as far, but at least you're going to hit it straight, hopefully.
That's right. And the equipment has gotten so much better. You swing easy and hit the ball further. You might catch one swinging as hard as you can, and that's the only thing you remember.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, dude, I'm just going to come out of my shoes and blah, and you jack in the woods, and it's a penalty stroke, and you're,
It's good advice.
And something else, best advice I ever got is don't cheat at all. Even when,
no mulligans?
Well, I mean, it depends on how people set the game up, if you're betting or whatever.
True.
But, if you play the game strictly by the rules, you will get better.
I could see
that. If you know you can kick it out of the woods or pick it up and flip it or whatever, in the back of your head, you don't concentrate as much.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, I'll fix it, and I'll do this, and I'll do that. It really makes your brain kick in.
Yeah.
And
that's a good tip too.
I'm full of some wonderful information.
I'm not doing any of that stuff right now. I've got clubs from when I just started playing in high school to get out of class.
Yeah.
So I got the same clubs from then. I've just always had those. I've never bought new clubs. I play a few times a year. I don't get lessons. It's just
go to Dick's and they'll have clubs on sale from 3 years ago. That still is going to be so much further ahead in technology than what you have. You're probably playing with those things that look like they're hanging on the wall at Applebee's.
I don't. They're probably 30 years. I mean, I'm 25 years old. I don't even know.
Dude, just if you're going to play 3 times a year, get better clubs.
Yeah, I know. I need to.
All
right. We solved golf.
What's next? What else can I act like I know something about?
I know you did the roast too of Larry. Yeah. That was awesome. What was that like? You always see it on TV, but what's the lead up to that? And I know some Greg Giraldo is one of my favorite, comedians.
Here's what happened. So I showed up to it. We're all backstage, and Jeffrey Ross and Greg Giraldo, the guys are so sweet. Greg was a great, nice guy. People thought he was mean because you watch it. He wasn't at all. But these guys are walking back and forth, pacing like this is dead set. All right, getting their timing, and I'm standing there. I didn't even have notes. I'm like, oh damn! I should have really prepared. I didn't, It was fun. It was weird. I was sitting in between Gary Busey and Toby Keith, and I knew Toby from stuff before. We'd gone out drinking and whatever. He'd come out to shows, and
Busey though is a wild card.
Busey's out of his freaking mind. At the after party, he was holding his hand over a lighter like he did in Lethal Weapon. Like when he was Mr. Joshua or whatever. And he's like, hey, you can say that thing. I'm like, God, dude. So we're sitting there. He's deaf in one ear. He can't hear. He was in a motorcycle accident with no helmet on, right?
Sounds
he got busted for mushrooms when he was 65, So I'm sitting beside Toby, and we're drinking and laughing and getting ready. And Gary walks over in between us and looks at Toby, and he goes, Toby Keith, I'm Gary Busey. Toby's like, hey, Gary, how's it going? He goes, next year, sidelines, Texas-Oklahoma football game, me and you. Toby's like, all right, man, whatever you want. He's like, my whole life's like football. Sometimes I get hit in the head. Sometimes they throw me on the ground. And Toby goes, get away from me, you fucking idiot. And Busey looks at me and goes, what did he say? And I go, he said he wants to take you to the football game. He's like, right on. It was weird. And then when it's your time to go up, they put a red pillow behind your back, right? So the camera people know who's next. So it's his time to go up. And Busey's like, I don't want to do this.
It's a little late.
Yeah, and they're like, Gary, you're up. We're filming. Yeah. You got to go. Nah, I'm not feeling it. I'm not going to do it. They're like, Gary, you're the most talented person here. You know that, right? And he's like, nah. And the guy goes, you are Buddy fucking Holly. And he goes, all right, I'll do it. And he got up and went and did it. Like they had to it was nuts, man. But they're like a circus.
Yeah.
I mean, Warren Sapp and Marsha Brady and like all this weird.
Yeah. It's quite a lineup. Or a dais, they call
it,
or whatever. I don't know.
This is bizarre.
But yeah, that was a good one, man. That was, I'm sure
fun,
that was cool to do.
It was
fun.
And
I know you've done some shows for the troops too. Like, where all have you been for that?
I went, I did like 75 shows in Iraq and Africa and Kuwait and Bahrain and on the Theodore Roosevelt aircraft carrier and all kinds of.
That's
did it
awesome.
For years.
Like, that's great.
Loved
you did that,
it.
man. Yeah, I'm sure that's a great crowd. Like, because they're just looking for an escape.
Dude, it is. You are so humbled doing that stuff. Or I was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and I went out one time and we had the Denver Broncos cheerleaders with us, and they're like, okay, the cheerleaders are going to go out first, and then you're going to go out. And I was like, no.
Yeah, let's
I go, these guys haven't seen a woman in a year.
Yeah.
No way I'm following them. And these girls are like, really? Are you sure? I'm like, I'm quite positive. But it was an experience I'll never forget. And I did one a few years ago. I ended up getting a parasite in Africa, and I was sick forever. And nothing like flying Air Ethiopia when you're blowing and you're anyway. But it's one of those things where you realize how much people put into. I mean, they're babies, man. Some of them joined the military to go to college.
Yeah.
And 6 months later, they're in Iraq, and they'd be 12 hours working and then 12 hours off, and they're playing video games and stuff, and I'm like, dude, these kids, you forget how much people put on the line. Then they come back home, and the VA's a nightmare.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
I mean, it's the way they're treated is freaking awful. And people, thank you for your service. Thanks for the truth. That's all well and good, but if you're leaving them where they can't get help, I'm a spokesman and I host a celebrity golf tournament for an organization called A Soldier's Child, and anybody that wants to check it out, it's a soldierschild.org. And what we do is we put on birthday parties. It started out with one kid from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Now we have over 5,000 kids, and we put on a birthday party for them and honor their parent through their 18th birthday. Now it's grown into we have camps. We have college scholarships. So if anybody knows somebody who's a kid who's lost a parent, that's what we do. We've never turned anybody down. And we have a lot of kids whose parents weren't killed in overseas, but they came back home and things got off.
Yeah.
But to us, that's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have had that if they hadn't been over there.
Yeah.
So,
well, thanks for doing that, man. That's great that, you work with them like that and helping them out as much as you can. Like, definitely check out the website and help out where you can. But that's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to act like I'm a good person.
No, you are, man. That's great. You're doing that.
It,
no, that's awesome, man. I got a few comedy questions I usually ask everybody just to get a backstory, Where did you start, or where did you do comedy for the first time, and like what made you want to do it, I guess?
What made me want to do it is probably Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
I was one of those kids that listened to every single Eddie Murphy. I knew it. I still know all of it. You know what I mean?
That's ingrained if you still know
comedian.
it. Yeah.
I mean, dude, I still, my friends and I from when we were kids, we still break out into Eddie Murphy Raw, or comedian or delirious, but I started in Atlanta at the Punchline, and my my parents got me a comedy class for graduation.
Okay.
And it was like $400, and you took these comedy classes, and the graduation was you got to go up on stage at the Punchline.
Nice.
Well, I had already gotten a job there, working the door and everything, so I was kind of like, and I'd go into these comedy classes, and everybody there was just trying to be funny at the water, like they're, I'm going to be the funniest guy at IBM, hey, and I was like, no, dude, I want to get hammered and go on the road. You know what I mean? So I went to a couple of the classes, and the people in the classes are like, you're not funny, that's whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm watching real comics. I'm talking to real comedians that are telling me how to write these jokes. And they're like, it's like Mad Libs. Insert joke here. So I'm like, screw this. I ain't going. So I went to like 2, and there were 6, and then they had the graduation. I'm like, screw this guy. Nice guy, but I mean, I'm not going.
Yeah, I hear you.
So my mom calls me the day before the graduation and goes, "Hey, I'm surprising you. I'm flying in to go to the graduation from the comedy class." Now, I hadn't been there. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." She's like, "Can you pick me up at the airport?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right, let's go." And I'm like, "Ah," and I hang up. And I call the guy up, and I'm like, "Hey, man, you got to put me on that graduation thing." He's like, "No way. You haven't been to the classes." I go, "Okay, cool. Give me my money back." And he's like, "You're going up 6th." I was like, "That's what I thought."
Yeah, that sounds like a comedy.
You know,
class
that's
for sure,
it. Yeah. So that was, I think I had been up once before, but that was the first time. But those things are like an AA meeting. You know, like everybody's they have to clap and cheer and, "Hey, good job. You know, you're really doing it." And I'm watching it like, these guys suck, man. And I did too. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it was just, so then I just kept doing it. And I was teaching school part-time and working at the Punchline. Then I booked like 3 weeks on the road, making like $150 a week. And I thought I was a comedian. You have to be kind of stupid to do this, because I quit my job. I ditched my apartment, and I lived out of my car for like 4 years.
Wow.
And hotels and people's couches. And, you know, I had these buddies in Atlanta I went to college with. I'd show up on their doorstep, and I'd have a London broil and a case of beer. And I'm like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" They're like, "Oh, God, you're here for how long?" I'm like, "I don't know, like a week. Let's eat, man. Let's eat," you know?
So that 4th week was a little touch and go.
Oh, dude, especially because they had to get up and go to work.
Yeah.
And I'm passed out on their couch, hungover, and they're going to sell real estate. I'm like, "Keep it down. I'm trying to sleep," you know? But that's the good thing about having good friends.
Yeah, man.
You know?
That sounds like you were all in for sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned Eddie Murphy. Any other favorite comedians you have?
Brian Regan.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Genius.
Yeah.
There was a guy, he doesn't do stand-up anymore, but Anthony Clark.
Okay.
Dude, that guy, Brian Regan, just working at the Punchline, Brian Regan and Anthony Clark blew the doors off that place every single show, every single night. I mean, like,
I bet, man. Regan's so funny. I've seen him a few times live, and he's great.
Dude, my stand-up's not like his, you know, or Anthony Clark's, but they just had something that made the crowd just buy into it immediately and just go on the ride for an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When you see that, it's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, the crowd doesn't even know what's happening, like, really, but they're just on board, and they're going to laugh their heads off. And it's great to be a part of that crowd or just see it, you know?
Dude,
from the
Larry
back.
the Cable Guy, and I'm not just saying this because he's my buddy, and Rodney Carrington, those guys blew the doors off the place every night. Every night.
Yeah. That's everybody's got their own thing, you know? So when they get the groove or whatever, like, I usually ask too, like, what's your writing process like, or do you kind of write on stage? Do you write it, like, sit down and write it all? Or
I hate answering this.
Everybody's got their own thing.
I kind of don't have one.
Well, that's,
as weird as it
don't.
sounds, something will happen, right? That's real.
Uh-huh.
And it'll make me laugh. And if I remember the story, it's worth it.
Yeah.
If I forget it, it wasn't that funny anyway. So then I just go up and I just tell the story.
Okay.
And edit. Just first thing I do is take out all the stuff that doesn't need. I don't write things down. I'm visual. Like, I have ADD, brutal. And so I'd start writing, and then I'm like, oh, a pencil, you know, I like ice cream. I'm just freaking, you know. So I write these country fried takes for the Bob and Tom show, and that forces me to sit down and write it. So I'm getting material out of those now.
Nice.
But I always, just something would happen. I'd start telling the story, and I work it out on people without them knowing it. So, like, I'll tell the story to people, my friends or whatever, and that's how I kind of test it and see what works and what doesn't work. And my friends are brutal. So they'll like, shut up, dude. Or they'll be like, you're not trying out your material. You know what I mean? It's like an old Seinfeld. Like, are you doing material right now? Like, nah, man, you know, I just kind of, but since they're real stories, you can hide them in there.
Yeah.
and kind of but I used to just make stuff up out of the air. But as I've gotten older, it's all just gotten. I was this goofy fraternity drunk guy on stage for a long time, and I don't drink anymore, and I don't look like a kid anymore. So I kind of, it was like, dude, you gotta
pivot in a little.
Yeah, nobody likes this. If you're drunk and 25, it's funny. If you're drunk and 53, it's like, God dang, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not cute. It's like, grow,
Yeah, I hear you. Everybody's got their own thing. I always ask people like their writing style or whatever, and everybody's got a different answer, So
yeah,
I've
never written anything down.
Yeah.
I just kind of something will happen and I'll go, oh, that's funny. I'm gonna try that tonight.
Yeah.
And then I try it and then see but I pin it in between stuff that I know is gonna work, and then kind of, so I know it's who cares? There's no pressure. I know I have at the beginning and I got the end. So if one little piece, nobody even knows.
Yeah. That's always great when you're trying something new and it works for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the best parts about comedy.
Or sometimes you try it once and it kills and then it never works again.
That's true too.
And it's like, man, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
How did and I don't videotape myself or listen to myself. So it's like, how the hell did that happen? That it kills one night and then sucks. And I won't let it go. Like, I'll be like, no. That's why I lose it.
Yeah.
I'm the worst gambler ever because I'm like, it's got to come back around. It's got to get the cards have got to change.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah, comedy's a cruel mistress for sure. You never know.
Yeah, hooker.
Speaking of that, what's the worst show you can remember? Or best. I'll usually go best or worst.
The worst show I can remember. When I first started out, I had to take every gig because I didn't have an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd take these gigs, especially comedy clubs that were attached to hotels. They're not really around anymore, but there used to be tons of them. So I was in Ocala, Florida, and I'd only been to Charlie Goodnight's in Raleigh, which is one of the greatest clubs there is, the Punchline in Atlanta, and the Stardome in Birmingham. All three are top 10 clubs in the country, or were at that time. And I get booked in Ocala, Florida, at the Holiday Inn right off the highway on 75. So I think I know, you kill. Those clubs were packed every night, So I go into the lobby, I check in the hotel, I go into the hotel bar, and I go, hey, where's the comedy club? And they're like, you're in it. And I'm like, what? And they're like, this is the comedy club. And there's a couple guys. Ocala's known for horses. So there's a couple bookies sitting at the bar. There's nobody else in the place. And there's a strip that's about 3 feet wide of wallpaper that looks like brick behind like a wooden stage that's about 4 foot by 3 feet, right? I'm like, this can't be. And they're like, yeah, man, this is it. I'm like, what the hell? And I'm thinking like, I got to stay here. I don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
I need the hotel room. But so I go back to my room, change clothes, come down. There's an older couple that's about 90 years old sitting in there. That's it. There's nobody else. And I was working with Steve Brewer, and I can't remember the other guy's name. So I'm the MC. So I'm sitting there, and they're like, "You ready?" And I'm like, "No, there's 2 people here. We're not doing this.
Like, this is a big crowd
and
for us."
They're like, the other comics are like, "No, dude, we got to do it." And I'm like, "No." And the manager's like, "We're gonna start." And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "You're going up there." I'm like, "No, I'm not." So they turn the lights off. The old man's like, "Why are the lights off?" He didn't even know there was a show going on. They were sitting in there having a drink, eating popcorn. He's like, "Why are the lights off?" And then this music comes blaring out, and it's like, dun, 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 and lights are spinning around, and this guy's losing his shit. He's like, "What's going on in here?" And I'm standing there like, I'm not going up there. And this thing comes on, "Are you ready to rumble?" And this guy's like, "No," like, "Stop this." And his wife is telling him to be quiet. And I'm like standing there, and the other comics, the tape runs, and the other comics like, "You got to go. I'm like, "I'm not going up there." And it's like, "Please welcome our first comedian." And the tape cuts off, and it's dead silent. And the manager goes, "Go up there." And I go, "No." And he goes, "Get up there." And I'm like, "I don't want to." And he's like, "You need to go." And the other comics are like, "You're not going to get paid unless you go up there." I'm like, "Fine." So, I mean, everyone can, 2 people can hear this. The bookies
Yeah.
can hear it. Their bookies are laughing. I walk up on stage and I go, "You guys ready to have a good time tonight?" And the old man goes, "Why are the lights off?" And I go, "All right, who's ready for your next comedian?" And the guy in the back's like, "Fuck you." And I'm like, "Let's get him up here." I didn't do any time. I didn't do anything. I bring him up. The guy does 30 minutes. And I was so impressed that he was willing to do it for 2 people that didn't understand what was going on. Did his thing. I brought up the next guy. We get done. The manager goes, "I'm telling you right now, the rest of these shows, you're going to do your time or I'm firing you and you're not going to have a hotel." And I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. I'm like, "All right, man, whatever, you know." And I was so depressed and I'm like, this just sucks. And we get done with the show and the other comics are laying into me like, "Dude, what is wrong with you? Do you not know what you're doing?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't understand what the hell's supposed to happen." So I was getting $150 a week in the hotel. I was there for 2 weeks. The shows were Wednesday through Sunday. Monday and Tuesday, they didn't pay for your hotel. I didn't know that. So my $150 was gone.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And every night there was like 6 people, 5 people. The thing is, looking back, that's the best way to learn how to do it. It's like putting a weight on a bat before you go up.
Yeah.
You put the donut on and you're swinging it, and you take it off, and you're like, "Oh, full crowd, yes." You know what I mean?
Yeah, going from those nice clubs to that
Oh,
must have been just.
I
like,
thought
what?
I thought that's what comedy was.
Yeah, I mean,
the
getting that out
stardom
of the way
holds-
at the beginning, though. I mean, relatively early, you were like, well,
Yeah, dude, I was
it's
doing
gotta be-
biker bars because
Yeah.
I had nowhere to go.
yeah,
Like, I'd be in Lubbock, Texas, one night and have 2 nights to get to Myrtle Beach in a Honda Accord or a Honda Civic. All my clothes were in there, hot pot,
yeah.
you know,
Man.
grabbing $18 hotel rooms.
You were
Dude.
all in, man.
And fun.
Yeah,
It was so much
I
fun.
bet, man. All right, we'll be right back with more Back of the Room. This is a message to the St. Louis Cardinals from Back of the Room podcast. I'm a lifelong Cardinals fan. You guys are fucking up. You're fucking terrible. I know you've been good for a long time, but you fucking suck this year. So let's try something different. I don't know. You know, try not sucking. I went to the game a couple weeks ago. Sat in the Champions Club. It was $150, which at first I thought was a lot of money. But it was all you can eat and all you can drink. So I got my money's worth, and it was awesome. But you guys fucking lost to the Chicago White Sox? Worst team in the fucking league? Step your game up. Let's try something else. Contreras, he was the only one that hit a home run. Only run of the game. Oh, he broke his fucking arm. Great. Still terrible. Doing really bad. Let's fire sale. I don't know. Fuck the manager. Fuck the GM. They're gone. Trade somebody. I don't care. You could trade anybody at this point. Don't trade Fred Bird. He did pretty good. He almost got a t-shirt to my section. But besides him, everybody else can go. I don't give a shit. You guys fucking suck. You need to step your game up. You got booed at the game. Never seen that before. Really bad. I didn't boo along because I'm a really good fan. But you guys suck. I don't know. Maybe start looking for a teenager who hurt his arm, Major League style. Remember that movie? Yeah. Look for that kid. Ask Michael Jordan if he wants to play again. Probably better than half of those bums. Fire that bitch that sold me the 50-50 ticket that didn't win. How about that? We need to revamp. Need to retool. Get back to those old days of Cardinals greatness. I don't know. I'm just saying, figure your shit out, Cardinals, and figure it out fast. Go Birds. All right, we're back. Sitting here with Reno. Got a segment for you.
Okay.
Segment's called Goats, greatest of all time. So I'm just going to throw a category out and just give me who you think the GOAT is.
All right.
First one, obviously, going to go comedian.
You can't do it.
It's a tough one, I know.
You
You got to go. Everybody says that. It's like, I could do top 5, but it's tough. How about your favorite personal, maybe not GOAT, but your just favorite comedian besides Eddie Murphy? It's a tough one, I know.
My favorite, dude, I honest to God, I cannot answer that. I mean, I could pick some people that I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Bill Burr makes me laugh. I can watch his stuff because we don't do. It's not the same. Dave Chappelle. I mean, I'm picking easy ones.
Those are good answers.
It depends. You know how this is, man. There's no GOAT. It's not like, there's statistics.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's ticket sales,
sure,
there's one guy. If it's has nothing to do with comedy.
Yeah.
And then there's, I don't know, dude.
You threw a couple out. I'm totally fine with that. We'll move on.
Thank you.
Greatest of all time athlete.
Bo Jackson.
That's a good answer. Yeah, multiple sports.
Yeah.
He was huge and he was a hell of an athlete.
Yeah. And I wasn't even a fan of his teams.
Yeah.
But
you had to respect the athleticism.
Yeah, he and Michael Jordan, like I never cared about the Bulls. But if Michael Jordan was playing, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods is golfing, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Bo Jackson was playing, I was watching it. My favorite players are probably Pete Rose and Cal Ripken. But the greatest, I mean, and there's not a lot of longevity in Bo Jackson, which makes it so it's.
But, yeah, I mean, for those years.
Dude, for those years, there's nobody like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. I'll give it to you. Greatest Steve of all time.
Martin.
That's a good one. I'm going to go Steve Austin, the wrestler. I don't know. I'm just throwing him out there. Stone Cold, baby. I got him right here.
Love it.
Greatest 70s rock band. Or just classic rock band, I guess you could say.
Greatest well, can it be a Stevie Ray Vaughan? But it's not a band.
That's all right.
I would say Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, he was great. What got him? He died pretty young.
Helicopter crash.
Was it?
Yeah, leaving a concert, and he'd just gotten sober.
Damn,
like
that
before,
sucks.
for a couple years, he'd just gotten it all together. He was leaving a concert. The helicopter picked him up and crashed.
Damn.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Steve.
Yeah.
This is a impossible one too, but greatest TV show of all time.
Seinfeld.
That's a good answer.
I'm sure that's probably everybody's, but
that'd probably be mine too, or up there for sure.
Yeah.
I've seen every episode a million times.
Me too.
It's great. Greatest SNL cast member of all time. These are tough.
They are tough. Phil Hartman.
Okay. He was good.
I mean, as a utility guy who could do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a great actor, but also great just on the show. He could play any kind of character, and also R.I.P. in an unfortunate way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But
everyone I like is dead. Favorite dead guy. Go.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a segment. It's a short one, just throwing it out there, seeing how it goes. But that was GOATs, everybody. It's a new segment.
Favorite Steve could be Stevie Ray Vaughan, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, all right.
Steve Carell, Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder, maybe. Steve Carell.
A lot of Steve.
Greatest Steve of all time.
Nah, he's not. He's just he's a Steve.
He's a Steve.
Yeah.
And funny.
Yeah. But yeah, man. You're here for a few more shows. I think tonight's shows are going to be great.
Yeah. Should be good.
Probably be hanging out a little bit and checking things out again. But how long have you been coming to this club? How long have you been?
A few years.
I'm sure, yeah. It's a great club, It's just it's hard to beat that room, with the low ceilings and just.
Dude, it's one of my favorite
old
clubs because it's old school. This is how comedy clubs used to be.
Yeah.
A lot of them now, it feels like you're doing a show in Applebee's or something.
Yeah, I know. They get it wrong so many times. Like their ceilings are super high and it's not set up
well. I still want to smell cigarettes in the room.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want it that old.
Yeah, I mean it was only like 6 or 7 years ago probably here when they banned it here. So
the headshots are like Rich Miller or no, not what's his name? Dennis Miller.
Dennis
Rich
Miller.
Miller's
they got
his
some old
brother
pictures
who's an agent.
there.
Yeah. Dennis Miller, like when you go walk around, you see like Sinbad and he's 20.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you something. Sinbad's up there in the greatest comedians of all time. Have you ever seen him live?
I've never seen him live. I always thought he was funny though.
I mean, he has a rhythm in his stand-up. He did this thing about dating, how guys wanting to date younger women, and he wants to date a woman who can tell if you're having a stroke, and he acts out this whole thing. And dude, I don't think I've ever laughed that hard. I mean it. Like he is up there.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, I've heard the Norm story where he was talking about like they were at some festival and Norm was working on all his jokes and this and that, and he was hanging out with Sinbad, and he was saying something about the paper or like something about the town. And Norm goes up first and does all his jokes that are, pretty crafted and he was working on. And Sinbad's talking about the potholes or the newspaper article he read. And he was like, this motherfucker just is doing everything off the top like this and, crushing. So
a guy told me one time that Bill Burr, he said he was opening for him somewhere. Biggerstaff?
Bob Biggerstaff?
Yeah, I think that's who told me the story. Anyway, they were opening for him. He was on the phone with his wife, and they're arguing about a dog. Just like, what are you talking about? You fucking got that thing. And they go, please welcome Bill Burr. He just continued the conversation he was having with his wife, went right out on stage. He's like, yeah, we got this fucking dog. And he did 15 minutes on the conversation he just finished.
Wow.
And it destroyed. And it was all never said before. I respect the hell out of that stuff.
That's
crazy.
That could have been that story he has about getting that pit bull.
Yeah, it might have been. This has been a long time ago.
One of his famous bits of like his wife bought it without him, without telling him.
Dude, I think that's what it was. And that's
was.
when it happened.
That's crazy.
And then he just goes up and blazes through it. Man. Comedy is fun and it's interesting, but there's something about the raw balancing act of not knowing.
Yeah.
And standing up there going, they might like it, they might not.
Yeah.
The best thing that ever happened to me is I just quit caring.
That's good. That's good advice too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that helps in certain situations for sure. If you over prepare sometimes, or if you think about a joke too much, then it doesn't always work. But
well, not only that, I always thought like sitting in the back of the room, working the door and bartending, I'd watch. First of all, I used to think everybody who got on stage was famous because they lied about their, he's seen him on Tonight Show. I'm like, oh my God, that guy's the opener. He's been on Tonight Show. Never been on it. But I was like, God, these guys are all rich.
Yeah.
Then I start doing it. I'm like, that was horseshit.
Yeah.
Like but I forgot what the hell I was going to say. Oh, but sitting back there watching, I always thought if I got a Comedy Central special, or if I got a TV show, or if I got to be in a movie, I would have made it, and I'd be so happy. And I got all that stuff, and I was miserable. I was freaking miserable.
Yeah, you hear that a lot, It's
so weird.
It's always chasing the dragon, it seems like, with comedy, isn't it? It's
and then you get there, and you're like, I should be the happiest person in the world. I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happier now than I've ever been. And I'm just busting it out on the road again. And it makes me feel young.
That's
and
great,
fun
man. That's what it's all about, Playing some golf, doing some comedy. You're doing it right, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we'll wrap it up. I know you got to get ready for the show, so I appreciate
I gotta poop.
You got to do that too, man. That's a prep
That's
you got to do.
That's my closer.
Yeah.
Thank you. I got to take a dump. Good to see you.
Thanks for being here, Reno. I appreciate it,
man.
You
got it, man.
Thanks again.
Thanks for doing
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching. Give it up for Reno. Check out his stuff.
Clap at home by yourself.
I'll
when
add
you're watching this and no one knows.
But, yeah, thanks again, man. I appreciate it.